This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
Have a new idea of collaboration and value creation for our AI era. Would either or both of you please explain how cooperation with AI is, first of all, even possible, and then what organizations should be doing to overcome hesitation to make it possible?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Doug, it's great to see you, and thanks for hosting Nina and I on your podcast. This is the most important question of our time, really, is how will AI and humans coexist? And so Nina and I, and a third author, we co-wrote a book about this exact topic because we think there's no more important thing to help companies and leaders figure out this kind of nearly binary choice that most organizations are facing right now is, do you invest in people and their capability and skills to grow in new and exciting ways, or do you try to cut your way to success? There's no easy answers. Like in most business, there's no easy answers. And we try to provide a little bit of a framework and a guide through this book to give you some of the things that you should be considering depending on which direction you want to go. But we wrote this book honestly, just to be helpful to organizations and leaders who are facing this exact problem, and it's all about. And we firmly, Nina and I, and our organization that we worked with, we really want to be on the side of history that is about investing in people's capability and skills to do the best work of their life, with AI as a superpower as part of that equation, but not as a part of the equation that replaces humans.
So it can be done in place, not in place of humans. So those of us fearing to lose our jobs to smarter software, we should sit back and relax.
I mean, it's a stressful time. And so I come from the HR side of the business historically, moved into human success. And I think we need to be open and honest about everyone is kind of thinking, is the machines taking over the world now? When will it happen? And we're all, I think all of us has moments today where we're thinking to ourselves, how am I going to get through this? How are my children going to go through this? That's kind of one side of it, which I don't think we should neglect. And obviously that's the people perspective and a sensation in all organizations that we have to deal with as leadership teams, because to be able to transform into these new ways of working, we have to have a culture where people are not super much under pressure and in a mindset where they're closed down. So that's from the individual perspective. Then from a leadership and company perspective, and I think it's very, if I can just speak to the state of the mind of the leaders and the employees, we've seen for years and very much since COVID that employee engagement has dropped. It's super low. And we saw for some times that manager engagement didn't drop the same way, but now actually manager engagement is also dropping. So reaching the same level as employee, as the employee level. And I think that that's interesting. And it to me, it means that we all, no matter if we're employees or leaders, we're in a situation where something is going on where we're not really comfortable. And that doesn't, and I think because employees for a long time was the only ones feeling disengaged, we thought it was, the employees against the companies. With AI, it's no longer the employees against the company. It has to coexist. Organizations are a group of people who's deciding to try and achieve things together, a certain thing together. And so it has to coexist. And I think so it allows us to really think about how we work in the age of AI. We have to rethink that. And we were already not doing so well. Something has changed for us. We weren't really happy. AI is now giving us some fear, but it's also allowing us to see some new opportunities. Because it opened up some doors, but change is of course difficult. And I think what we're speaking in our book, it's to our humble experience with this. And it's not 10 years experience, because none of us has 10 years experience with AI. It's actually lived experience that we have at this point for the last 3 years-ish. We started out writing the book when it was early 25, so not that long time ago, and it came out this year. And we wrote it as we went through these kind of new changes to AI, where we could do more and more. We could see, okay, we have to think about how we work day to day, how we build organizations, because the jobs are changing. What are the relevant jobs in any company is changing. What we build, we're in tech, so what we build is changing entirely. And how, because we were talking about platforms and software. Now we're talking about agentic platforms where you interact with an agent that does stuff for you. So it's different what we built, and we have to reset that real quick. And the last thing is that that we are in a situation where how we go to market, how the market reacts right now is changing. So everything's changing. That's super difficult if you think about it, but it's also an opportunity. And for me personally, if I can just bring myself forward, because I come from the HR space, it's an opportunity for me to rethink what's the value I bring to the organization where I'm working. I've been tired of that, all kinds of ways of working in HR for a long time. And I was actually trying to leave HR, build my own company, then was brought back here at Zensai, because we have that mission of really rethinking how people is going to work in the future.
That brings up the old saying that the most hated department in any company is the HR department. Nobody likes them. Not management doesn't like them, and the employees don't like anybody in HR. So now you are in human success. What's the difference and why?
Yeah, the difference is hopefully that what we'll do is we'll help employees and companies succeed together. All of the admin, the risk things that we have managed, it's still going to be managed in the company. It's going to be very much managed by legal, AI, and all of these things. So now HR has to rethink how are they going to be relevant in the future. And I think many HR people is going to feel this like being a great opportunity for them to step away from all of that, organizing, admin, risk assessment, and think about how do we set our teams and our people and our leaders up for success, so that we can build the organization for tomorrow. There's so many things to HR and where that comes from and where it's leading. I agree. I think a lot of HR people, and also if you look at LinkedIn, is a hated kind of group of people in a way, and people don't trust them, and they are there to protect the company. And for me, it's like, I've always just said it openly, so there could be no confusion, and I think that goes a long way. But the next thing with HR is that most of those people went into HR not to do that kind of work, but to really help companies succeed. And they haven't had a seat at the table because they haven't been able to speak to the company and the business opportunities. They have never learned that. So I think we're looking at this reschooling of HR people turning into something else than HR. And that is what I think is positive, because I was quite frankly quite tired of being in HR.
Well, for those of us who only had to deal with HR from a distance, perhaps we should have thanked our lucky stars. What?
I'm not that bad, though. I'm not that bad.
No, I wasn't talking about you, for heaven's sakes. Although I could name a few people.
Yes, all other HR people, yeah.
Yes, all the others.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say now.
Sorry.
As you deal with companies as consultants, what is the toughest thing that you have to overcome to teach them or to get them to accept?
I mean, I think my perspective.
Accept what? AI or?
We're talking the AI world, I guess.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, change is always hard, right? There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's been a constant throughout time. And whenever you bring in a new technology, and we've seen this change before with computing coming online in the 90s, and then of course changing to the web, cloud computing, software as a service. But this change we're going through right now is more profound than any of those because it changes the nature of work profoundly. Before we digitized a lot of the work and made it more efficient, this ultimately changes the nature of work. And like Nina was saying, I think there's a lot of companies, leaders in public, they're very excited about AI, but in private, they're panicking a little bit because they don't exactly know how it's going to affect their job, their teams. How will a team even be structured? If you think about what is an organization, what is a company? A company is a group of people coming together to do great work every day. Sometimes that's small projects they're working on. Sometimes they're really big projects, right? You've probably seen all span of this. And now with AI thrown in the mix, if you think of it as another team member, how does that change the dynamics of the output? How does it change the dynamics of the team itself? What's capabilities? So instead of thinking always about we need these people to succeed in these projects, now it's about the skills that you need and can you actually train AI to have those skills? That becomes another way of interacting with a human. And then you can see that the future is kind of going that direction, but most organizations are not set up for it. They're still very hierarchical. They're very like the pyramid shape, organization that has a CEO, then a bunch of executives, and middle managers, and individual contributors. And the truth is, the organizations of the future is probably not going to look like that. And the organizations that are being built right now that from scratch in the last, let's say, 5 years, they're not looking anything like that anymore. It's much more about people coming together around projects versus the traditional hierarchy where there's a lot of red tape and process and bureaucracy and so on. Now it's a lot about here's the project, how can we get it done as fast as possible with humans and AI interacting together. And so our job in this whole thing is how do we guide organizations to this? And so there's lots of different ways that we do. We go talk to companies directly. We've written this book. We have what we call a human success coach that you can find online. We can go and basically have an interactive conversation with Nina or myself, and we'll give you advice on what to do if you tell us your problems and your challenges and so on. There's a lot of ways to do this, but I think the main message I would say probably to HR leaders or leaders in general who are stressed about it is you're not alone. Sometimes it feels like it because it feels like the performative nature of online feels like everyone has this figured out.
Yeah.
It's not true. In private, everyone is kind of panicking a little bit about this. And it's good to have these open conversations because then we can get through this together. And there's a lot of, when I speak to customers, I spoke to one today, speaking to one tomorrow, we're having these very open conversations about how can we help guide you to a better future using technology.
What are the company leaders telling you and asking you? What are typical questions?
So at least I can say from the HR people I speak with, what they're struggling with right now is to understand how they transform the HR department. What is it supposed to look like? What's their tooling? That's one thing. The other thing is that I think a lot of leaders are now actually at this point looking at the HR leaders and asking, how is the organization going to look like? What's your suggestion here? And the HR leaders are so happy to be asked because now they are asked and invited to the table, but they are struggling to come up with an answer because everything is so new. And so that is kind of the two main things for HR people, right? From my perspective, Robin, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more to the leader and exec team and board perspective, perhaps.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is everyone's very excited about it, a little like stressed about it. There's no doubt about it. But what they want to get ultimately is the promise of AI has been outperforming the reality of it today so far.
Yeah.
But it's accelerating so fast that I think we're starting to see real results from it now. In the early days, it was a little bit more hype than reality, I would say. And the secret here that every organization is now coming to realize is that AI on its own is honestly a little useless. It's AI with context. Context is king in this age of AI because context is all about, do you understand the business? If you just ask AI, generic AI platform for something, it'll probably give you an answer that sounds decent. And the more context it has, the better answer it can give. And what companies are realizing is they're sitting on tons of data in marketing and sales and finance and so on. And if they can add that context to their AI engines, then the output that they will get is so much better, not just at the organizational level, but also at the human level, at the coaching level. Every organization would love to create a high performance team where everybody is performing at the best every single day. And that's ultimately the promise of human success is, can we give people the skills, knowledge, and motivation to succeed every day? But that's hard to do because it requires coaching and guidance and mentorship and all these things that have oftentimes been at the exclusive domain of leadership. We'll give you an executive coach or something. But now the promise is everybody should have access to this in an organization. But it helps if we can do this at scale with technology, but also have the context for each individual. So let's say you have a 10,000 person organization. Yes, maybe the executive team have coaching and they can become better. But now even the most individual junior employee can get some of that coaching on a day-to-day basis, so they feel momentum in their life and they feel like people, or they're being invested in. Coming back to what Nina mentioned earlier, the disengagement statistics that we see from Gallup and other sources are stark. 80%-ish of the workforce are not really engaged with their work anymore. And the reason why, if you look at the reasons why, is because they feel like nobody's on their side, nobody's investing in their growth, they're not learning anything new, nobody cares
They're
about it.
overwhelmed.
They're
They
overwhelmed.
feel
So
disconnected.
if you can give people direction and motivation and the right skills and guidance every day, so they feel like there's a sense of belonging and purpose in what they do, you're going to start seeing a lot better results.
I think I
And
can
can
speak.
remove also and we can also remove some of that bureaucracy, because we might be able to work not in the hierarchical triangle anymore, but actually cooperate in different ways. And I think especially some of the younger generation coming out, they'll appreciate that. They don't appreciate that corporate bullshit, if we just use the words that they use.
I think I can speak for middle managers all over the industries in the United States, and it feels like every day you're putting out fires. You're the fire department, always putting out fires. How on earth will AI help those managers who have daily crises, it seems, to do better and have their staffs do better?
This is a
I
great
think
question. I mean,
I agree.
middle management has always been the most stressful. I remember I had a tenure in middle management. Most people have to go through the middle management layer to get to the executive layer. I was probably maybe 7 to 10 years in middle management. You're managing up, you're managing down, you're managing sideways, and you're doing all the work at the same time. So yeah, middle management is always a very stressful place to be. But I think the promise now with technology is that you can use technology to automate a lot of what a middle manager does. What do they do? It's a lot of like trying to communicate across, a lot of project management, a lot of like stakeholder management that happens in you're managing a team, but you're also managing up, you're managing your peers, you're trying to communicate to make sure everyone's aligned. Technology is actually quite good at doing that, right? It can keep everyone on the same page. So what does that then allow a middle manager to do, I think, is to free them up to focus on what humans do best: the collaboration, the communication, the empathy, the compassion, the context of understanding how do we work better together, versus spending all this time on the process, the bureaucracy, which is again where when you speak to middle managers, they're so frustrated. I have to both do the work, I have to manage up, I have to manage sideways. It's like it's just very stressful. Again, I think we're getting to a point where a lot of that can go away. Not all of it maybe, but a lot of it can go. But Nina, I would love to get your take on
But
that.
if I think you're right, and I think that's what we want to unlock, and that's where we'll see the AI gains. But we're not there yet. Most organizations are not there yet, and I think it's Deloitte or McKinsey who both in a report they did said that that's because we haven't learned how to design how AI and humans are going to work together. We don't know how to do that exactly yet. So we're treating AI a little bit like a technology project, like an ERP project that we're rolling out a system and then everything should be good. But AI is more than that. It's changing our internal processes. It's allowing people to have more clarity because they get access to input from AI, so they can quicker move along with what they're doing, and they can understand what's relevant or not. So I very much agree with that, and I think the next step for us is to figure out how to design that, and that's also what we're speaking to a little bit, because in all of that, it's really about, before you start applying AI in a company, it's not that you shouldn't test it out and learn and do, like, it's always good to kind of test and stuff, but if you want to really transform, you need to understand your main workflows in your company, and then you need to understand how those workflows drive value towards your customers. And then you're going to organize around those workflows, meaning, if we're talking about the commercial work, the customer workflow, you'll have people from product to the sales leaders out there benefiting from that same workflows and AI skills that really helps you understand this customer is not super happy right now. I need to write them now. And this, whatever it is giving me an indication that I should check this and telling me some data about usage of our platform so that I can speak directly to the customer needs immediately, or it tells us what to tweak in the product first. So we're all connected to that same value flow and kind of organizing around that. But of course, it's a different ways of working, and most organizations are not organized like that anymore. So that is a transformation, and it won't be overnight before we see that gain. But I think you asked about kind of the like a little bit like, why should we at all like focus on AI? And I think, how to get the leaders interested in AI. And I think perhaps end of last year, I think that's a question, we would talk to some companies about AI and they'll be, yeah, that's not for us. Now it's like everyone has realized it's coming, because in all industries, you'll see companies that are picking up on AI and are really solving some new things and able to move faster and do more with the same amount of people. And I think that's what will drive the change, because everyone will then be looking and see, okay, how do they do it? They're much faster than us than this. We should probably think about doing that. So I think it's not about really for us to make people more interested. I'm really seeing that companies are asking more and more about this. How are we going to solve it? How are we going to implement this? How are we going to be as good as the other AI first companies that we're now facing in the competition of the market?
I'd like you guys to get in your little time machine, one in Denmark and one in Madison, and go back to when you were entering and in college. What would you study today to be better leaders and managers after you get out of university level?
Great. I'm going through this right now. My son is in college. He's at the UW Madison.
I asked the question because we have 3 grandchildren in college. And
my son is at UW Madison, and he went into it. He's now interning his junior year, so his 3rd year, and he started by studying computer science. That was his goal. He's been very set on that. But he's recently said he's going to do a double major in computer science and also philosophy. And I think it's a super smart choice, because it's not just understanding about how technology works, which is of course very important, but also I think the ethical and moral consideration that go into actually creating great technology that benefits all of humanity. So it's just one thing, but I think studying something around humanities, philosophy, I think would be very useful. You see actually a lot of these AI companies, both OpenAI and Anthropic, hiring like chief philosophy officers and chief humanities officers. They understand that technology is just part of it. It's kind of like what enables us to do a lot of these things we talk about. But actually the moral and human consideration behind it, so you actually have great output, is equally important. So it's interesting how, Nina, what are you seeing? What would you do?
So I actually studied business and philosophy on my bachelor, and then human resource management on my master degree, right? So and I think what we studied in HR was just so far away from what we're talking about today. But I do think some of the things remains the same, and that's some of the leadership philosophy and the way, in terms of philosophy, you choose a certain view of the world, and you're navigating within that, and it can just be very helpful to understand that we all have different worldviews, comes with different values and all of that. That's still very useful for me, because when I think about a team, an organization, an individual, I think about their system, and they're operationally closed, but they're cognitively open. So how do I speak to that system's kind of reality in a way where I can expand that reality to comprehend and exist with something we wanted to incorporate in the ways going forward. So that's super useful. I think for me, it's just not also about what you study, right? It's about all the work you do, the coming years that you build on, and your personality that comes through, and then really hanging on, like being comfortable just going with what feels right. And I don't think, it's different from person to person how confident you are from the beginning, but that's at least one of the things that I've become aware of, that I was always meant to do something along those lines, because it's what drives me. It gives me energy to talk about these things. So in that way, my work is easy, because I love talking about the transformation. But if I was going to talk about only HR administration, you would see me fall asleep.
Oh, we don't want that to happen until
No.
we're done with the interview. We're almost there, and it's been great with all of your excellent answers. Tell us, our listeners and viewers, about your book. The name of it has a long title.
Yeah, the book is called The Human Success Playbook, and it's written as a leadership fable for the age of AI. And the reason we wrote it that way is there's a lot of business books out there that'll try to give you all kinds of frameworks. And the three of us love stories, and we've always been avid readers of books, especially fiction. And so we wrote this more it's like a hero's journey. And it's fiction, but it's also based on, like Nina said, a lot of the conversations that we've had over the last couple of years with CEOs or with customers. So there's a lot of truth in this. So a lot of these stories are actually based on real conversations. So it's basically about a CEO who's facing a choice, having to cut a lot of people from his company, and he refuses to do so and says, I think there's a better way. Let's invest in their growth and their skills. Give me time to prove that. And so you have a little bit of the ticking clock, because he's on a clock now to prove that, or else he'll get fired. And you have a little bit of the hero's journey, which is very exciting, a la Star Wars, Lord of the Rings kind of thing. So you have kind of this journey going through it. You can get it on Amazon.com, or we can also just contact Nina or I, and we'd be happy to probably send you a free digital copy if you're interested.
And tell us about your company. You are all over the globe, it seems.
Yeah, we have customers and locations in many places in the world. Yeah, we do. Sorry.
So our company is called Zensai, and started in Denmark just over a decade ago. And now we have customers in over 75 countries. We have employees in over 7 countries in different parts of the world. I'm in the US, Nina's in Denmark. And we basically sell a technology platform that's all about giving people, again, the knowledge, skills, and motivation that they need to do great work every day. And it's anything from learning the right things that you need to learn, performing at the highest levels, being engaged in the work that you're doing, and getting the coaching that you need to be the best that you can be every day. That's really what we're all about. And we have over 2,000 customers around the world, anything from companies you might have heard of to companies you might have never heard of. And that's kind of usually how it goes. But we're growing and we're scaling, and it's a very exciting time to be in this space.
Now, a website for folks to get more information.
Yeah, our website is Zensai.com. So a Z or a C, depending on your language. ZENSAI.com. You can also find us, Nina, on LinkedIn, or myself on LinkedIn, and we can point you in the right direction. But Zensai.com is where you'll find.
You've been listening to the Biz News Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@biznews.com. That's BIZGNUS.com. Thanks for listening.